So these are the questions I've had about lasting power of attorney. So the first question, does the spouse have automatically LPA even though if the LPA is not in place? I think if I understand the question, you're asking is, if you have not made an LPA, will your spouse automatically be your attorney? The answer to that is no. LPA is a legal document giving the attorney the legal power to make decisions on your behalf when you don't have mental capacity. If you've not made an LPA and made your spouse your attorney, then the doctor, social worker, etc. can listen to your spouse's view, but are not obliged to take account of them. However, if you have an LPA, they will have to take your attorney's wishes into account whilst making any decisions. Let me remind you, for those of us who were there for the first session on the LPA, I mentioned about the case study I shared with you last time about my friend's mother-in-law who was placed in a nursing home 5 hours round trip from their home. The family, their sons, wanted her mother to move to a nursing home close to their home. But as they did not have an LPA, the social services heard what the family wishes were, but did not take their wishes into account. So I hope I've answered that. I'll go on to the next one. When someone is not capable to do the LPA, when a child does it through the court, does other siblings have a say and object to it? If yes, what is the procedure and do you have to involve legal person and what is the cost? I understand this question as there is no LPA and the person has lost capacity. One sibling has applied to the Court of Protection to be a deputy or is a deputy. Could the other siblings object to it? And if so, and the cost. Now I'm assuming that the basis of objection is that the deputy is not acting in the person's best interest. In that case, yes, you can object to the Court of Protection by filling in an objection form. There's a fee of £365 to pay. But if the matter is complex, I would recommend you get legal advice. You'll have to find out from the solicitor how much they will charge. I'll move on to the next question. Do I need to notify someone immediately? Do I need to notify someone, immediate family members, spouse, sibling, and or children that I would like to register an LPA? It's always a good idea to inform the immediate family or those who are caring for you or are around you on a daily basis, but you do not have to if you do not wish to. It's always good to notify people you trust to ensure that they do not have any objection or concern about the attorney you're appointing. After all, an attorney should be someone who will speak up for you and will make the decision in your best interest when you do not have capacity, and the decision they make will be based on your wishes and preferences. Let me move on to the next question. If you have more than one attorney, for more than one attorney, how will they make decisions together? If you have more than one attorney, although most people have two attorneys, then you, the donor, has to make an important decision about how you want the attorneys to make decisions. There are 3 options for you to choose from, and whichever option you choose from, the assumption is every decision an attorney makes is in the best interest of the person and in line with their wishes and preferences. So the option you can choose is, the option 1 is the attorneys can make decisions jointly. This option is rarely advisable because every decision must be made jointly and unanimously. In other words, they both have to agree And if they don't agree, then a decision is not made. Also, if one attorney dies or loses capacity or cannot act, then the LPA becomes null and void. So you need to think carefully about what would be the advantage to you in order to select this one. Option 2, the attorney can make decisions jointly and severally. This option is the usually preferred option. In other words, the attorney can make decisions together, or just one of them can make decisions on their own. So here, if for any reason one attorney cannot act, then the LPA will continue to work. This is the option most people will choose. If two attorneys in this option, if two attorneys have different opinions, say, then the attorneys can appoint a mediator or ask social services to mediate. A mediator's decision is binding. You also have a third option. And the third option, the attorneys can make decisions jointly for some decisions and jointly and severally for other decisions. In this option, you can specify to your attorneys particularly issues which you want them to make the decision jointly, and other issues where they can make decisions either jointly or severally. So you can say any topics which are important to you. Let me go to the next question. Can I appoint same people for financial affairs and for welfare? Yes, you can appoint the same attorneys for care and welfare and property and finance. You don't have to have different ones. You can have the same people. So with that, I think these were the questions which had come to me. Are there any questions on LPA, or is there any further clarification you need on these questions?
I haven't received anything, Gadalaban, so.
Shall I proceed or give them a minute if anyone wants to clarify for the answers I've just given?
I think people can unmute
proceed.
if you want to ask a question or any clarification.
Thank you, Ghazala. It's good that you clarified some of the questions, thank you.
Okay. My pleasure. So shall I move on, and then if any other questions come in, then we can answer at the end?
Yes, please. That sounds good, Ghazala Ben.
Okay. So I think before I leave the LPA behind me, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the LPA Security Bond. I just wanted to mention, because this has been recently launched in the just last few weeks. This bond will safeguard the assets of the donor from financial losses suffered by them as a result of the failure by an attorney to perform the agreed duties expected by the Office of Public Guardian. If through the attorney's wrongdoing, misappropriation, or honest mistake, the donor's estate suffers a financial loss, a claim can be made against the bond to ensure the donor is reimbursed for their financial loss up to a value of the bond. The bond can be purchased to cover all new LPA registrations as well as existing LPAs. You can choose the value of your bond, and it's a one-off payment. The bond will only give you a peace of mind when someone else has control over your finances and assets, but will also provide comfort for your attorneys assisting with your financial affairs. Moving on, just a brief recap of the advanced planning umbrella, which we did last time. The advanced plan for end of life, these are plans for what happens to you before you die and then after you die. So to make these plans, you need to be over 18 and have mental capacity. The red ones, as we saw last time, these are legally binding documents. The first column is about what you want at the end of life, your advance statement. This is what we're going to focus on today. This is not legally binding, but can be used by those helping to determine a person's best interest, and will also guide your attorney to make decisions based on your preferences. The second column is what you don't want. In the advanced decision to refuse treatment, it is about treatment you may not wish to have at the end of life. This is what I'll focus on in some detail today. The advanced decision to refuse treatment is a legally binding document where the person specifies the medical treatment they wish to refuse should they lose mental capacity. The third column is who will speak for you, your proxy spokesperson. We've covered this in the lasting power of attorney, and this is a legal document. Now, the last column is what you want to happen after your death. This is about your funeral planning, organ and body donation, will and estate planning, which we've already done, and digital legacy. This is about your presence on Facebook, online banking, cloud storage. What happens to all that when you die? We'll cover that later on in the series. Finally, just to remind you, at the bottom of the slide here, there are some important websites. If you decide to do your advanced planning, it's good to go through some of these. So, how do you start these important conversations? It's important to have the end of life conversation with your family and to talk to one another about your wishes. This might be a series of conversations to get a deeper understanding of a person's wishes. This can be difficult emotionally, but having the conversation now at a place and time of your choosing, while your loved ones can speak for themselves, is much preferable to trying to figure out their wishes when someone is unable to speak or in a hospital intensive care unit and when the family is in crisis. I've had experience when at the end stage in life, when someone is minimally responsive, surrounded by close family, who are saying, we want everything done for them. An important part of any family conversation is to understand what is meant by do everything. Does it mean surgery, feeding tube, ventilator, or does it mean pain medication, oxygen, antibiotics, and other measures at providing comfort and quality of life? And it could be either. But what does the person want? So the main message here is that early discussion and advanced planning are absolutely necessary. Some people will start by having individual conversation with someone close to them, and then they discuss this with the rest of the family. Other people will prefer a family style meeting for this important conversation. So everyone convenes in the same place to ensure each family member hears the same thing at the same time. Some people will have this at the dining table or going on a long walk. Whatever you choose, just make sure you have enough time and space to have this important conversation uninterrupted. You might want to draw on your previous experience of a friend or a family member dying. This may include a so-called good death, in which a loved one's wishes were followed to the end, or a death that was particularly difficult, painful, prolonged, or left a great deal of unresolved feeling. So draw on your past experience to say what you or your loved ones would want and what you would want to avoid. So sometimes it's easier to play games to share your hopes, dreams, and wishes. This way you can have an important conversation in a light-hearted way. You can get these games on the internet. I'll just run through them. The conversation game is deciding what's important to you. Then you have a death deck, which has lots of questions making you think about what is important before your death. Morbid curiosity, it's a game about death again. The styles are different in each one of them. They're card games and you're asked and you can play it in a group or just one-to-one. Talk about is what's the deal with life and death. And then you have think, which is again very much on advanced care planning questions. So they just make it easier for people. Our family favorite card game is the Talk About. We love playing this game. We find out so many things about each other which we hadn't known. You can get this from Marie Curie. You can now download this deck of conversation cards. They're free on their website. It gives you 30 useful prompts to start the conversation. So let's play one of the card games. I bet you weren't expecting this, but I need to liven this up a bit more. I'll show you a question, and I have my kind volunteers who have agreed to respond to my questions. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer. It's about your personal journey and what's important to you. So thank you, my volunteers. If you can please unmute yourself. And here is the first question coming for you. Before I die, I want to. Go ahead.
I want to run a half marathon in aid of cancer, visit places I've not been on holiday, get involved with some charity work, do some improvements to my house, make up with my family whom I haven't spoken for years.
Thank you.
I would like to declutter my belongings. I would like to ride a bicycle. I want to go and see the Golden Temple with my loved one. And also, finally, I would love to go to Hajj.
Okay. I would, like Zubaida auntie, I would like to go for a Hajj with my family and with my children as well. I would like to, for example, pay education fees for the children, maybe hopefully pay off the mortgage. So that sort of thing.
Thank you. And it's quite fun when you do that, because you really start thinking, you know, what is it which is important? Have you done the ticks? And is there something more to do? Thank you for that. I'm going to move on to the next one. How would you like to be remembered?
Okay, so I think I'll probably start with this one. So most of us would like to be remembered in a positive way, and I think it's a great accomplishment to be remembered in a positive light after your death. So, for example, I want to be remembered as someone who is genuine and generous. For example, when you give with selflessness and without expecting any favor in return. So you just sort of start creating a positive cycle around you, and obviously you help other person, but then in return you gain a lot of happiness and peace in yourself. And I remember one of my friend mentioned that she remembers her grandma, for example, every day through her cooking. So whenever she cooks something, she just think of her grandma and think that how she would make, and it just always create a smile on her face. And another example is I would want to be remembered as someone who has excelled in a profession, or someone who has contributed in improving the quality of other people's lives in the community and in wider society.
Thank
That's
you.
from me.
Thank you.
I would like to be remembered કે જે વ્યક્તિ આખી દુનિયા ફરતી હતી ને બધા સાથે શેર કરતી હતી કે આ જોવા ગઈ હતી, આ જોવા ગઈ. And અલ્લાહની દુનિયા એટલી beautiful છે કે અલ્લાહે મને મોકો આપ્યો છે કે I can go and see this beautiful world. So I would like to be remembered for the woman who went to see the world. Secondly, I would like to remember કે in my short life or long life, મેં કોઈનું દિલ ના દુખાયું હોય. I think that's very important to me. In my journey of my life, I haven't hurt anybody. I think those two things are quite important.
I think for me, it's like, you know, everybody has said a good and a kind human being, a good wife, of course, for my husband. And what I want to be remembered is a fantastic auntie to my nieces and nephews. So it's simple, not too much.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Let me move you on. to the next question. What has been your experience of being with someone who's dying?
So my personal experience was, it was quite painful. So, but then if we're able to help the person transition into another life, so that is quite a blessing, and it's a big responsibility, and it's sort of a pleasure to help somebody transition into the next phase.
I think for me, sorry, have you finished?
I have finished, Vedanti.
Sorry. I think for me, I think to look after somebody and છેલ્લા દિવસોમાં અલ્લાહની એક નેમત છે for me કે અલ્લાહે મને ચૂઝ કરી છે કે હું તને મોકો આપું છું સેવા કરવાની ને ઈ જે મેં મોકાનું એક્સેપ્ટ કર્યું એન્ડ ઈ જે જર્ની મેં પાસ કરી જે મારા લવ્ડ વન્સ હતા એના સાથે મેં હેપી મેમરીઝ ગુજારી એના સાથેની જે કઈ વિશિષ છેલ્લી હતી મેં ફૂલફિલ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી એના સાથે ચેલેન્જીસ હતા બટ અલ્લાહ આપણી નિયત સાચી હોય તો અલ્લાહ હંમેશા આપણા સાથે હોય છે so I do feel that it's a privilege મને અલ્લાહે આપેલો હતો. That's how my experience.
Thank you.
I think for me it was challenging seeing someone you love on their last journey and not being able to help them, keep them alive. But of course, you know, as much as you can to help them towards that journey and make it easy for them. So yes, it's two sort of experiences for me.
Thank you. Moving on, what do you think makes for a good death?
It's a difficult question.
Well, it can be seen as two ways, because a good death, it could be different for the person who's dying and for the people who are their families, because sometimes I've walked away from somewhere thinking the person has had a very difficult death, but the people around, the families, are all talking about, oh, how good that was. So it could be different perspective. It really is a question whose view you're looking at. But anyway, whatever this brings up, just go ahead.
Okay. So in my opinion, a good death is when the person is free from unnecessary distress and avoidable suffering, for example, being in pain. So the person, for example, who's dying, that are kept in familiar surrounding with their family and loved one around. So I think it's probably the integration of many concepts, for example, pain management, decision making, and as I said, having family around, and that the person is treated with respect, or person is treated as an individual first, and with respect, love, and care towards the end of their life. Okay, that's it for me.
I think for me, I see the question related to myself, and મને એમ લાગે છે કે મારા વાસ્તે I would like to make sure કે my family, my husband, whoever is my loved ones, I have spoken to them, discussed about my wishes when I die and after I die. And for me that's very important કે ઈ જે જર્ની છે અમે લોકો સાથે કરે, because કે ઈ લોકોને પછી મારા જવા પછી કઈ તકલીફ ના થાય કે આને શું હશે ને આને શું હશે એમ.
I think for me, it's knowing that and accepting that we are all going to die one day, and something that will happen sooner rather than later. And I think it's the preparation in our minds that this is going to happen to all of us is quite important. I think once we accept that, hopefully that makes the death a lot easier and a good death, hopefully.
Thank you all. Moving on to the last one here. How comfortable are you thinking about your own death?
I feel I'm very comfortable. Think, yeah, especially, after the COVID has kicked in, I think it's brought everything to perspective. And I think accepting for me that my time will come, and I want to make sure that my family will be easy when that time comes, because I can't see my family, finding it hard. I think that's concerning for me. Okay, my loved ones feel comfortable when I'm passing through, because I don't want them to be crying and crying.
Oh,
I think for me, it's to be honest, I haven't given much thought, but if it happened, I am okay about it. And by grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've had a good life. So, if it happens, no regrets.
Okay, so for me, to be honest, I'm quite uncomfortable thinking about death. In a way, I'm quite fearful because I have two children, and the thought of leaving them without their parent is quite scary for me. But I guess that's why this session is so important, that you can just think about advanced planning and think about making LPAs in order to protect your spouse, your children, and your families, to make sure that they are protected and well looked after you. So that's it from me.
thank you so much. That was all beautiful share. And it just goes to show we all are going to think and approach it differently. And whatever we do, it's our journey. So I'm encouraging you all to start thinking about this important subject. Let me move on. Thank you again. So, what is an advance statement? An advance statement allows you to record your wishes, feelings, beliefs, and values. You can include anything that's important to you in relation to your health, well-being, for example, your food preferences, your religious or spiritual views, your daily routine, where would you like to be cared for? For instance, is it going to be at home, in a hospice, in a hospital, or in a residential home? It's also helpful to include information about the things that are important to your quality of life. For example, your hobbies, pastimes, or spending time with your family. An advance statement is not legally binding. This means that the healthcare professional doesn't have to follow the exact instructions that are in it. However, whatever you write in your advance statement is still very important, because it must be taken into account when someone is making a decision for you. The way this all works is, if someone is making a decision for you, they have to act in your best interest. A best interest decision is based on your values, beliefs, and preferences. It should be the decision you would make for yourself if you could, or if you did have the mental capacity. So there are templates of how or what to include, what you can include, and there are several available online. I usually use the one on the website of Compassion in Dying. Once you've completed your statement, you can make sure that you send a copy of this to your GP, your attorneys for the LPA if you have them, and provide it to other healthcare workers who are involved in caring for you. It's a good idea to review and, if necessary, update your advance statement regularly to reflect your current wishes and views. I'm going to share you the website I said. It's called Compassion in Dying website. As I said, you can go to any other websites too. But this one here, I've got an example. So when you go and register yourself on this website, you get an option to either go and do advanced statement first or advanced decision. If we choose advanced statement, then you get this page here. So you see here, they're asking you a bit about me, and it'll give you all the prompts you need to fill in. So then it tells you all about on the page you need to fill about your details. You then move on to the next bit, and under each heading, as you see, there are prompts and boxes which help you guide through this. So you've got my likes and dislike. It's already prompting you to say, put some hobbies or pastimes, things that are important to me, my identity and my quality of life, things I don't like. So it's quite important you fill it up as much as you can in detail. So when people are making decisions on your behalf, if they are, they'll consider all this. It helps your attorneys a great deal as well. So once you've done that, you then have about your beliefs and tradition, and it'll give you some more options there, your diet and daily routine, your care and treatment, wishes for after I die, and any other wishes you want to include. It then will ask you a little bit about your health. So you fill in about how your health is and any other information you like. You review all this, and then you complete it, print it, and sign this, and give it to your GP, immediate family members, and any healthcare professionals dealing with you. So this is how you do your advance statement. Now, let me move on to talk about advance decision. An advance decision allows you to write down any treatments that you don't want to have in the future, in case you later become unable to make or communicate decisions for yourself. The legal name is an advance decision to refuse treatment, or ADRT, and it's also sometimes called a living will or an advance directive in Scotland. Advance decisions are legally binding as long as they meet certain requirements. This means that if a healthcare professional knows that you've made an advance decision, they have to follow it. If they ignore an advance decision, then they could be taken to court. So what can I refuse in an advance decision? You can use an advance decision to refuse any medical treatment, including life-sustaining treatment, such as cardiopulmonary resuscitation, also referred to as CPR, if your heart stops, being put on a ventilator if you cannot breathe on your own, being given fluids artificially, for example, through a drip, a tube, through the nose, or directly into the stomach, antibiotics for a life-threatening infections. You can't use an advance decision to ask for something illegal, such as assistance to end your life. Refuse basic care that keeps you clean and comfortable. Demand certain treatments. This is because doctors don't have to give you treatment just because you ask for it. Doctors decide whether treatment is medically appropriate for your condition, and then you decide whether or not you want that treatment or not. So how do I make an advance decision? Any adult over the age of 18 years with a mental capacity can make an advance decision. There's no set form for making an advance decision, and you can write one yourself as long as it meets the requirement needed to be valid and applicable, which I'll cover in a moment. To make an advance decision, you should think about what you want and the situations you'd want to refuse treatment in. For example, if you have a cardiac arrest, a stroke, or dementia. Speak to those close to you about your wishes. Again, I use the Compassion in Dying website to fill the advance decision. Although there are other websites too you can use. The Compassion in Dying website takes you through some questions and scenarios to get you thinking about what's important to you. The forms are such that you can save it as you go along and come back to it. So it gives you, if you need time, take time to think, discuss with other people if you need to. These are important decisions. Think what you want. Speak to your GP if you need to, if you have a medical condition, or those who are involved in treating and caring for you. Once the form is completed, to make it valid and applicable, you need to do the following. If you want to refuse life-sustaining treatment, you must include a sentence that states that your refusal applies even if your life is at risk or shortened as a result. You need to sign and date your advance decision form in presence of a witness. And your witness must also sign and date the form. That's how you can make that a valid advance decision. Give a copy of your signed and witnessed advance decision to the people close to you, your GP, your attorneys, and anyone else involved in the care. Some people carry it with them all the time. People will keep that behind their door. So if the ambulance people came in, they'll know. They'll also put it behind in the fridge, because that's where sometimes, as soon as the ambulance comes in, they'll probably look there to see if there is anything there. If you are giving it to your GP, then it's quite important that you ask your GP that it's included in your summary care document. And this is a summary care document which each of us have. So say if an ambulance is dispatched, there'll be a little summary about you which they get. So especially if you've got the do not resuscitate, that should come up on their screen so they already know what you want. It's a good idea to review it and if necessary update it. It's recommended that you generally review your advance decisions every 2 years or sooner if your health changes. So I'm just going to take you again to the website to just show you a few things as to if you're doing it on the Compassion in Dying website, this is how it will be. So once you've registered, you choose that you want to do advanced decision. It'll bring you to this page where you will fill the same details. If you've already done an advance statement, then it just carries over. And then it gives you a prompt about what treatment you want to refuse. So you then come up to these 5 scenarios: dementia, brain injury, diseases of the central nervous system, which are, for example, multiple sclerosis, motor neuron diseases, etc. Your terminal illnesses, cancers, and so on, and any other scenarios you might wish to add. So each scenario will contain a refusal of the life-sustaining treatment if you lose mental capacity in the future. If you don't want to refuse treatment in these scenarios, then you can just skip it over to go to the next one. There is space at the end of this section for you to write your own refusal if you want to. Again, it's important that you speak to your doctor about your advanced decision and any wishes you have for your future care and treatment, and especially if you've got any medical conditions. You'll then move on, and you can see here that if you've selected dementia, then it takes you to the next page, and where you have to choose whether you want, this is what you're choosing, whether or not you want to refuse any life-sustaining treatment. So it could be a blanket, yes, I do. Or it could be, you will refuse life-sustaining treatment where these conditions and also some of the following symptoms of behavior, and you can choose what you want from this list to say, in addition to dementia, these are the boxes, or this is what I want, then it'll apply. So for example, I'm persistently unaware of my surroundings. I'm persistently unable to recognize people close to me. I'm persistently anxious or agitated. I'm unable to attend to my personal hygiene. I'm unable to swallow. I'm unable to interact with others, or other symptoms of behavior as specified below, and you can add this. So each person will have to think as to what stage will they choose the life-sustaining treatment. So the website guides you to this, and once you've completed dementia, it'll just go through the other conditions which I just mentioned. So once you've done that, you're nearly there. You'll then fill your values. This will help your healthcare team to understand your wishes properly, It'll also help them to feel confident that you understand and have considered the decisions you're making. Importantly, if you've lost capacity and a situation arose that wasn't covered in your advance decision, the information you write here can help your healthcare team to decide how would you want to be treated. And it's always nice to fill in here. There'll be a box saying, I'm making this advance decision because, and it's good to write why you're doing it. After this section is completed, you're nearly there. You'll fill in something about your health and then review whatever you've written. Once you've done that, print it and then sign it with a witness. Let the witness sign as well. Give a copy to your GP, any other healthcare professionals involved in your care, your attorneys, if you've got the LPA, and let your family know of your advance decision. And if you're going to do your advance statement, advance decision, and LPA, I normally recommend that you mention in your LPA that you'd want your attorneys to follow your wishes in your advance statement and decisions. I think by doing this, you actually help your attorneys on the people who are looking after. So they know exactly what you want, and people are not trying to think what decision you would have made and is it right? And if there are more than one family member or people around, attorneys, if you don't say to them, it becomes difficult for them because everyone is going to answer things differently. So it's so much about yourself, but also about others around you. So if you need any help with your advance, first, thank you for listening. I hope you'll all think about these issues that I've raised in making your advance statement and advance decision. If you need my help, I'm here to help. And if you're thinking about doing your advanced planning, then I've identified doulas in Birmingham, London, and recently I've come to know of practicing doulas even in Toronto. So you could help, they could help you with your advanced planning. But in any case, I've not only explained what it is, where you can go and look a bit further, and I'm also available to help you make your advanced plans or answer any questions. Thank you.